Thanksgiving Day. Northwest winds 10 to 20. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm Brian.
Good morning. It's great to have you along this morning.
Delivery 24 hours a day. We deliver.
Let's get underway here.
Work in your car wherever you go.
Here we go.
News Talk 1320 107.9. The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show on this Wednesday, November 27th. It's great to have you along. The big stories this morning, President Biden announced a 60-day ceasefire plan between Israel and Hezbollah yesterday. And Israel has agreed to this ceasefire. But again, as you're heard on Fox News a few moments ago, they're still holding firm. But the president yesterday said that Israel and Lebanon agreed to the deal. Israel retains the right to self-defense if Hezbollah should break the agreement. And so the president said, let's be clear, Israel did not launch this war. The Lebanese people did not seek that war either, nor did the United States. Security for the people of Israel and Lebanon cannot be achieved only on the battlefield, and that's why I directed my team to work with the governments of Israel and Lebanon to forge a ceasefire to bring a conflict between Israel and Hezbollah to a close. And he said, this is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities, said President Biden. And he went on to say what is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed. And he said, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again. So this was President Joe Biden yesterday. And Benjamin Netanyahu, his security cabinet had convened prior to the president's announcement yesterday. And there was a lot of deliberations. I think it went on for more than 3 hours. And then at a news conference then, while the deliberations were ongoing, Prime Minister Netanyahu laid out 3 reasons in support of the deal: to focus on the Iranian threat, provide an opportunity to refresh the Israeli forces, and separate Hamas from the northern front, he said. And he presented the agreement to the cabinet for a vote yesterday, which was passed. And we'll see where it goes from there. Also, the big story in this country is tariffs. And Donald Trump threatening tariffs. And you were just hearing this on the Fox News Rundown this morning prior to this show about the reaction of tariffs. And the president of Mexico, President Claudia Sheinbaum, warned Donald Trump of the economic consequences for both countries from tariffs. And Sheinbaum said in a letter to Trump, and she read this aloud, she said, one tariff will follow another in response and so on until we put our common businesses at risk. A lot of attention on this, and I don't know. Isn't this all about illegals coming into our country? Isn't this all? I mean, if you don't want the tariffs, then don't you need to take steps? I mean, I'm just sitting here going, what in the world is everybody talking about? Everybody's screaming at the top of their lungs over this. You've got, and you heard that on the Fox News Rundown last hour. It's like, and then wait a minute. So what he's saying is Are you doing everything you can to stop illegals from coming into the United States? We know that Mexico is not, because they're allowing people to come up and in from Guatemala and other countries up through Mexico, all of the way, so we know they're not. So whether or not Canada is, but if you don't want to see the tariffs, then isn't it in your control to take those steps then to make sure that illegals are not coming into the United States? Because all of this debate is over tariffs. And I'm thinking, okay, we got people screaming, but if it's going to be that detrimental, then wouldn't it be in your best interest to make sure you're doing whatever you should be doing with the United States to make sure that illegals are not coming into the United States? Isn't that how you prevent this from happening in the first place? I mean, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. I don't think I am. I'm just like, well, wait a minute. If you don't want this result, then wouldn't you take steps? And isn't this what the threat of tariffs is designed to do? I mean, it's got everybody rattled. Everybody is shaken up. Everybody's up, and you're hearing this from other countries. You're hearing it then from some within the United States they're all rattled by this. But again, wait a minute. Aren't these other countries very much in control of whether or not the United States is going to enact these tariffs? Right? It seems like I understand everybody's all upset, but okay, if you don't want this to happen, then play ball. This isn't that difficult. I mean, I'm sitting here and what is all the screeching about? What is all the concern about? I mean, you weren't concerned when all of these people were coming into the United States, passing through your country, the caravans of people, we've all seen them, the caravans of people that were going through Mexico, still on their way to the United States, through Mexico. And they're talking about if you enact tariffs, then okay, well, what the hell is that? This just defies common sense. It's just absolutely crazy. So the president of Mexico, this is going to kill jobs. It's good, and we're going to enact tariffs in against U.S. made products. And let's everybody take a breath. Okay, can we all take a breath? Calm down and say, wait a minute. The issue here, do not forget, the issue here is you've got illegal people that are coming through your country into our country. Stop it. Help us stop it. And if you don't, you're going to see tariffs. So if you don't want the tariffs, it's within your control, is it not? Then to try to stop people moving through your country on their way to the United States? This whole thing has just got me shaking my head this morning. This is a really big story. And again, everybody's uptight, everybody's shook up. And let's wait a minute. Let's take this one step at a time. But everybody's reacting, and everybody's if you impose tariffs, we're going to impose tariffs. And it's like, whoa. What we want you to do is stop the illegals that are coming through your country into the United States. Help us do that. Mexico in particular, I don't know that Canada has been, we have seen an increase of people coming through Canada. Is Canada doing enough to stop that? I'm not in a position to know. I certainly know that Mexico is not. Because we see it. We see the caravans that are coming through Mexico. We know these are not all Mexican people. They're coming up through Mexico from other countries, up through Mexico into the United States. So Mexico, trying to sound like, oh, if you enact tariffs, we're going to enact tariffs too. Wait a minute. You're missing the entire point. We've asked you to stop the illegals from coming into your country on their way to the United States. Help us stop it. Do not stand by as these caravans march through your country. It's just, that's a big story this morning. And again, I think if you look at it from a common sense perspective, you just go, what in the world is all the screaming about, right? Help us put an end to this issue, or at least make an effort to help us stop it. Make a serious effort to help us stop it. And we don't see that, certainly not coming from Mexico. Now it's threats of, well, if you enact tariffs, we're going to enact tariffs. And I think a lot of this is designed to scare the hell out of everybody. Folks are out there and they're screaming, and it's all designed by, hey, wait a minute, roll up your sleeves and help us solve the problem. Help us. Be a partner to the United States and help us solve the problem. Whether it's Mexico, Canada, these other countries, help us solve this problem. If you don't, this is what will happen. So the conversation seems to be about tariffs when, from my perspective, the conversation should be about these countries being, do they want to be good partners of the United States? Do they want to have a healthy working relationship with the United States? Do they want to see, not see any tariffs and all of these kinds of things? Well, the solution then is simple. It's going to require some hard work on your part. You've allowed this to go on for so long. Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but either help us or else. I mean, is what it boils down to. That's really the big story. It's not the tariffs. And I'm just a little bit taken aback by the reaction then. And there are a number of stories that are trending that I'll share with you coming up here in a little bit. Justin Trudeau in Canada, he was brought, in meeting with people immediately in Canada after Donald Trump announced the tariffs. So he's meeting with people in Canada. Isn't that kind of what Donald Trump was trying to do? Is force meetings and to force people to say, what can we do, right, to assist the United States in this effort? Are there additional steps that we could be taking to stop this problem and just letting that's the United States' problem? He's putting other countries on the hot seat right along with him. Trump is. So again, don't lose sight, because everybody, tariffs are going to be bad for everybody. And I don't want to see tariffs. I think a lot of us don't want to see tariffs. But we don't live in a perfect world either. So that's a big story this morning. All right, let's see what else is going on. Donald Trump announced that he's nominating Jay Bhattacharya to serve as the director of the National Institutes of Health. And Trump said Dr. Bhattacharya will work in cooperation with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to direct the nation's medical research, make important discoveries that will improve health and save lives. You'll remember Bhattacharya was a name that came up often as we were in the midst of the whole COVID, when COVID first was an issue. And so he was a critic of the federal government's COVID-19 response in the early days of the pandemic. He wrote an open letter in 2020 this was during Trump's first term, called for the government to roll back the shutdowns, the pandemic shutdowns, which all of us know now were a bad idea, horribly, horribly bad idea. So Bhattacharya was among those who was first out there saying, and somebody of substance rather than just you and me, this is someone who is an MD, a PhD. So he wrote an open letter calling for the government to roll back these pandemic shutdowns and maintain focused protections then for vulnerable populations like the elderly. So this is, I think, an exciting pick. So Donald Trump announced that yesterday. He said together Jay and RFK Jr. will restore the NIH to a gold standard of medical research as they examine the underlying causes of and solutions to America's biggest health challenges, including our crisis of chronic illness and disease. Together, they will work hard to make America healthy again, Trump said. Also, there were others that Donald Trump, there are a number of folks that kind of a flurry of appointments coming from Donald Trump. He announced Jim O'Neill as the choice for Kennedy's deputy secretary. Kevin Hassett chosen as the director of the White House National Economic Council, as well as a number of others. So Donald Trump making a number of appointments. Also, Donald Trump's transition team announced yesterday they had agreed to a memo of understanding with the Biden White House, which will allow the two sides then to formally begin the transition of power. That's been a big story by the legacy media and a lot of hand-wringing over this. And I've not mentioned it a lot because I just had a feeling this thing is going to work itself out. This will work itself out. The media's got to report everything that's going on right now, and everything is always so. It's I think, this is. We've never seen anything like this. They haven't agreed to the memo of the memorandum of understanding between the two teams. And give me a break. As if the country, the world's going to stop spinning if they don't get this. Well, they did. I had a feeling. It's one of the reasons I've not mentioned it. There have been some stories trending this week. I think I've touched on it very, very lightly, but haven't spent any significant amount of time on it because I was confident that things would move forward. Just got to have a little patience. Also, lawyers for Donald Trump also are requesting that New York Attorney General Letitia James drop her case against him and his family and his businesses for the greater good of the country. This was reported by the New York Post. And Trump's attorney said, we write to request that you completely dismiss the above referenced case against President Donald J. Trump, his family, his businesses, and stipulate to vacate the judgment and dismiss all claims with prejudice. So Trump has appealed the ruling that ordered him to pay a $454 million civil fraud judgment in James' lawsuit. And judges on the New York Appeals Court could reverse the judgment entirely, but Trump's people are pointing to Trump's election victory and said that Trump has called for our nation's partisan strife to end, and which I wish it would. I wish it would. It won't. There are a number of stories out there that are big. We got Alec Baldwin talking about, how uninformed and ignorant Americans are. Now Sharon Stone's doing the very same thing. People are just absolutely, ignorant. I would like to believe that this partisan strife will end, but that's such is not to be. Anyway, they said, that the different factions need to join forces for the greater good of the country. This call for unity extends to the legal onslaught against him and his family that permeated the most recent election cycle. And I don't believe that will happen. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's favorability is soaring. So the Hill reports that Trump's rating hit 54% in the wake of his election win. And it's going even higher now. The number of people who are viewing Donald Trump favorably just continues to climb. And we'll talk about Thanksgiving this morning. And I want to get your thoughts on Thanksgiving. Let's talk about the holiday coming up this morning after 7, about your plans, what you look forward to. Because even Thanksgiving, unfortunately, surrounded by lunacy. There's a column at the USA Today that just has got me shaking my head this morning. So we'll touch on all of that coming up here on the Greg Belfrage Show. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. 627, partly cloudy, 17. This hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Weeknights 5 to 8. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires. See in-store details about how to get. I kind of pining for the days we used to get a break from stupid around the holidays. Get around close to Thanksgiving, and especially around Christmas, everybody would kind of just and the just cries of stupidity would kind of simmer down for a little bit, and then he'd get back at it after the holiday. Yeah, no, it never stops anymore. Unfortunately. Okay. 7% off with our lowest prices of the year. That includes quality queen mattresses down to just $3.99. Better yet, get a free sports blanket with any Black Friday purchase. And that's not all. Get 24-month, no interest financing with no minimum purchase and no money down. Get in store for the furniture show. There we are. Season at Unclaimed Freight Furniture. Financing is available with approved credit on qualified purchases. Ask store for details.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to slow it down. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression. Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today. Izervay gets GA going slower. Visit Izervay.
.30, partly cloudy and 17 currently at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. Coming up, a Sioux Falls woman who went on a crash spree in her vehicle earlier this month, now facing additional charges. When you see amber lights on the highway, you need to slow down and move over. That's a law in South Dakota, and law enforcement reminding us about that. And the Parade of Lights in Sioux Falls is coming up this Friday. Joe will take a look at those stories and more coming up in minutes.
Year of cross-border missile and rocket strikes, and Israel-Hezbollah ceasefires in effect in Lebanon.
The terms of the ceasefire are as follows. There is a 60-day truce. Israeli troops will withdraw, and Hezbollah troops will pull north. The monitoring will be done by the UN and the Lebanese army, and Israel has the right to defend itself if Hezbollah breaches the agreement.
Fox's Benjamin Hall. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is threatening to retaliate if President-elect Trump imposes tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports until more is done about border security and drug smuggling.
Till one tariff will come another, and so on, until we put our common businesses at risk.
She says the U.S. could address the cause of migration by spending some of what's spent on war, on peace, and that drugs are an American public health and consumption problem, not Mexico's. But she says she's willing to talk. America's listening to Fox News.
News brought to you by Sioux Falls Implant and Sedation Dentistry. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. A Sioux Falls woman who went on a crash spree in her vehicle earlier this month is facing additional charges. Back on November 14th, 33-year-old Ashley Sotoff struck multiple cars and property along Minnesota Avenue before finally being arrested in Falls Park. Yesterday in court, a new video was presented in the case that shows some of the crashes were intentional. The video shows Sotoff driving into front doors of businesses and even directly into a sheriff's cruiser, then getting out of her car to celebrate. Still no word yet on if there were intoxicants in Sotoff's system at the time of her arrest. When you see amber lights on the highway, you need to slow down and move over. That's the law in South Dakota. And following an accident in Jackson County yesterday, it's a law that may be made stronger. Yesterday on I-90, an SUV slammed into the rear of a Jackson County Sheriff's Patrol vehicle. No one died, thankfully, but State Transportation Secretary Joel Junt says more needs to be done to protect emergency responders.
We're looking at the opportunity to make it also a requirement for anybody that's occupying a shoulder, whether they're stopped or not, and has the right flashing lights on, that people are also required to move over for those.
The current move-over law was passed 2 years ago, prompted by the death of a tow truck driver. Yesterday's collision shut down eastbound I-90 while the crash was being cleared. The 2024 Parade of Lights in Sioux Falls is this Friday. The event will have 82 floats this year. About 40 to 50,000 people are expected to attend. The parade starts at 7:30 p.m. And in sports, in college basketball yesterday, South Dakota State crushed Missouri State 75-55. Augustana fell to USF 52-65. And South Dakota visits Lincoln to take on the Huskers today. In women's volleyball, the Coyotes claimed a 3-2 win over the Jackrabbits yesterday to win the 2024 Summit League Tournament Championship. USD will now advance to the NCAA tournament. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Mostly cloudy skies, a few passing flurries possible today. Our high temperature at 31, north winds 5 to 15. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low at 15. Tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day, a cool day, high temperature at 27 with a brisk northwest wind at 10 to 20. Temperatures on Friday back to 22. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm Brian Karstens.
When the Sioux Empire needs to know, Kello is here 24 hours a day. Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9, and Kello.com.
This season, doorbell cams are recording more porch pirates than ever. So the porch pirates are going high tech. I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. Download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/Kim. Porch pirates have learned that cruising neighborhoods, hoping to run across recently delivered packages, is very time consuming. And then there's the high cost of gas. So this year, they've adopted a new scheme, hacking into FedEx records and watching the tracking updates, and then swoop in on your delivered packages within minutes or even seconds after. Here are your best defenses. Insist that all FedEx packages require a signature. Also, use an Amazon Prime locker at nearby stores. Finally, you can install a FedEx or UPS delivery box right at your door. Make sure it's bolted down. And by the way, the #1 item on the pirates list this year are Apple iPhones. AT&T does not require a delivery signature, so buy them directly from a store. Get my free newsletter at getkim.com. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. Rates rising or falling? inflation being up or down. Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 40,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. If I had needed this product, it's exactly what I would use. And speaking of opportunity, you can now download the CFO's Guide to AI Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Kim. This guide is free to you right now at netsuite.com/Kim. netsuite.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires, your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and lighten a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
Let's ABC Seamless. Stock up on delicious quality meats from Renner Corner Meats. Order beef bundles, pork bundles, and prime rib today. They're taking deer, antelope, and elk for processing, and try their famous homemade real beef jerky now in gift boxes for the holidays. Renner Corner Meats in Renner and rennercorner.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and Senior Vice President of Men's Sexual Health at HIMSS. In my 12 years of practice as a reproductive urologist, I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS. It really wasn't easy before. You had to take time out of your day, come to a physical office, and see a specialist like me in person. Now, through HIMSS.com, you can get world-class sexual health care and a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. It starts with a free assessment from a medical provider licensed in your state who can determine if ED treatment is right for you. If you prescribe, your medication is shipped to you for free. So don't wait. Join the hundreds of thousands of guys who've gotten help for their ED through HIMSS.
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Okay, some mornings you might not have that get up and go.
But at least you can get up and know.
The Greg Belfrage Show, with insightful opinions on the latest stories and frequent weather updates. It'll get you in the know while you're getting ready to go. Kello News Talk 1320 107.
638, partly cloudy and 17. Good morning, my friend. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Great to have you along this morning. This hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, President Biden announced a 60-day ceasefire plan between Israel and Hezbollah. He made remarks at the Rose Garden yesterday, and he said, let's be clear, Israel did not launch this war. The Lebanese people did not seek that war either, nor did the United States. He said, security for the people of Israel and Lebanon cannot be achieved only on the battlefield. And that's why I directed my team to work with the governments of Israel and Lebanon to forge a ceasefire to bring a conflict to a close, the president said yesterday from the Rose Garden. So there are a number of stories. The Israeli cabinet approving the ceasefire deal yesterday. They approved it. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu submitted the proposal to his cabinet for approval. Now, keep in mind that Israel is a number of hours ahead of us, so he did it on Tuesday evening. And it was agreed upon. So Netanyahu, though, also had some strong comments regarding this. So making it very, very clear that this Israel is not backing down. Also, the issue of tariffs. Big story this morning. And the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, clapping back at Donald Trump's proposed 25% tariff on imported goods from Mexico. And she said that she would impose tariffs of her own on the U.S. and that this could lead to a trade war between the two countries, she said. So Sheinbaum has been in office for about 7 weeks in Mexico. So she warned that tariffs would cause inflation and job losses in both countries. She said one tariff will follow another and so on until we put our common businesses at risk, she said. What sense is there, she said, in these tariffs? I don't know. Does it make sense to you? Makes sense to me. What we're asking for is help keeping people out of the United States. If you're not going to do it, then we're looking at tariffs. So do you want a trade war? It's up to you. Also, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said yesterday that he had a good conversation with Donald Trump following Trump's announcement of new tariffs then. So he said, we talked about how intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth, he said. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call, he said. So that came after Trump again, and we talked about this yesterday. I shared this news, a big story yesterday. Donald Trump on Truth Social saying he would impose a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico. But again, what's left out of a lot of these news reports, he would impose the tariff if what? If these countries do not help the United States keep illegals out. That was and that's not being included in a lot of the reporting that I'm seeing this morning. And I think you need to know that. What is it that's fuel because everybody's screaming at the top of their lungs, threats are flying all over the place. What is the United States asking? For the help of these countries in keeping illegals out of the United States. That's what it boils down to. So also, Trudeau met with his met with Canada's premiers to discuss how to approach the relationship between Canada and the United States. And he said, this is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do, he said. This is before he went into a cabinet meeting. So one of the really important things is that we all be pulling together on this. The Team Canada approach is what works. Also, with the presidential election, of course, now over, and this story is trending this morning. This is from the Center Square. Americans' confidence in the economy has been improving with increased optimism and a slight increase in approval for Congress. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden's approval rating has dropped to 37%. So you've got Congress, who has the worst approval ratings around, man. The approval ratings for Congress are always in the cellar. Ratings for Congress are going up. Joe Biden's ratings are going down. I think Americans are pretty hip to what's going on in the country. Also, the Biden administration's top health agency announced This is the Department of Health and Human Services. They have proposed requiring federal and state health insurance programs to cover weight loss drugs for those on the program. So current rules block coverage for weight loss drugs, but this rule change would expand access then to prescription drugs for about 3.5 million people then. Another 4 million people who use Medicaid, according to the White House. Also, the Donald Trump team, Trump's transition team, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the White House that will allow Trump now to formally begin his transition to power. And apparently the Trump team was continuing to insist on things that the Biden team doesn't like, but it's they reluctantly they agreed to this reluctantly. And again, Trump didn't seem to be in any rush to do this. So I think under the agreement signed yesterday, Trump's team avoided signing a government ethics pledge saying that their own ethics plan will meet the requirements for personnel to move into the Trump administration. So an ethics plan. Also, Rudy Giuliani lashed out in court yesterday. This is a big story. He lashed out in court yesterday at the judge. Now, remember that Giuliani had a $146 million defamation judgment against him. And he told the judge he's having a hard time making ends meet. And so he was talking to the judge, and that, he had not been complying with the court order to surrender his assets. And Giuliani said, the implications you are making against me are wrong. I have no car, no credit card, no cash. Everything I have is tied up. They have put stop orders on my business accounts, and I can't pay my bills. And this was an outburst from Giuliani. And so the judge warned him against any further outbursts. And this just goes on. So one of the attorneys said that Giuliani had actually surrendered the car, but not the title. And the judge said the title needs to be turned over. A car without a title is meaningless. And he questioned, why hasn't Giuliani been able to get a new one? Your client is a competent person. He was the U.S. attorney in the district. The notion that he can't apply for a title certificate, and that's when Giuliani cut him off. I did apply for it, Giuliani says, shaking his head. What am I supposed to do? Make it up myself? Your implication that I've not been diligent about it is totally incorrect. So there were quite some fireworks in court yesterday. This story is trending this morning, but if you're a regular listener, we have covered this at length. Tom Homan, Donald Trump's incoming border czar, saying that the mayor of Denver, who's a Democrat, Mike Johnston, could go to jail if he insisted on obstructing efforts then to deport illegals. He said, look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail because there is a statute. And he goes on, what it says is it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It is also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if he isn't going to help, he said, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we are going to do the job. This is why I love Tom Holman. Also, and we talked about this yesterday, big story yesterday. It's trending this morning. So the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday granted a request from Jack Smith to drop Donald Trump's Florida documents case. Again, it had been appealed to the Court of Appeals, and they have agreed to drop it. So, also, a lot of stories regarding winter storms and what it will mean for Thanksgiving Day travel across the United States, depending on what part of the country you're in. So the worst of the weather is expected to hit the Northeast, although forecasters said snow could fly anywhere from Iowa to Maine. Another storm is slamming the West with rain and mountain snow. So snow could cover portions of upstate New York, Vermont, Maine, so on, New Hampshire. These are the areas that will be hardest hit by the weather. Here, it's going to be cold, but snow not in our Thanksgiving Day forecast. Also, a Missouri court on Monday, upheld a new state law that bans surgery and medications for transgender minors. Gender affirming healthcare is what the euphemism that the left uses whenever they talk about this, gender affirming healthcare. What we're talking about is law banning surgery and medications. And a Missouri judge saying, yeah, the law against this, yes, it is constitutional. So the law will stand. Also, a fugitive wanted for more than 20 years by the FBI has been caught in North Wales, authorities have said. It's a 46-year-old man, one of the FBI's most wanted terrorists for 2 bombings in the San Francisco area. So he's been on the run since 2003. And now he has been caught in North Wales. Also, Walmart this week confirmed that it's ending some of its diversity initiatives. They're removing some of the LGBTQ related merchandise from their website, also winding down a nonprofit that funded programs for minorities. Walmart has joined a growing list of companies that now stepping back from DEI efforts. There've been a number of these companies. Tractor Supply said in June that they were eliminating DEI roles, stopping sponsorship of pride festivals. Lowe's, Ford, and Molson Coors have also walked back some of their equity and inclusion policies. Also, the bankruptcy judge overhearing Alex Jones bankruptcy and efforts to stop the Onion from buying InfoWars, turning it into a parody. Well, the bankruptcy judge ordered a new hearing on this. It's been scheduled to hear an emergency motion to disqualify the Onion's bid. Decided to put it off until December 9th or December 17th. That is also when the judge will hear arguments on a request to approve the sale of InfoWars to the Onion. Caitlyn Jenner dropping hints that she might run for governor of California. There have been because Governor Gavin Newsom cannot seek re-election in 2026. And so Caitlyn Jenner tossing the hat into the ring, and Newsom had a recall effort against him in 2021. You'll remember Jenner was considered one of the possible candidates then to run as a Republican against him. Now Jenner has suggested that she might run for governor in 2026 and said on X, "Make California great again." Other stories that are trending this morning. Rams coach Sean McVay said yesterday he was gathering information about receiver Demarcus Robinson's arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence. He's not made a decision about his status for Sunday's road game against the New Orleans Saints. Said, "I want to be able to gather all the appropriate information before I commit to something one way or the other," McVay said during a video conference. So Robinson was arrested on Monday after California Highway Patrol officers found him driving more than 100 miles per hour on the freeway. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Currently partly cloudy and 17 here at Kello. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
On Kello for News in the Morning.
Thank you so much for being here, starting your day with us. I really do appreciate it. No Greg Belfrage Show coming up tomorrow and Friday, but I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great holiday weekend, and hope to see you coming up at 9:30 today or catch you next week. You take care. Good thinking.